Welcome.
Welcome to the Fatal Vision Podcast, episode 26. It's been quite a week, Billy. This is James, by the way. James McGinnis, as always.
James
Billy Lynn's
McGinnis,
here too.
the son, James is the son of the author of Fatal Vision.
That's that is true.
In
That's
case
been a stat. I think that's been. Have we mentioned that? I think it's been mentioned. But
Well, we don't
yeah,
know if somebody just clicked on it randomly
it's
this
true. With the
episode.
numbers are just our numbers are just fucking telescoping into the air. So people might just
I've
be
never heard
stumbling
that.
upon it.
I've never heard that expression before.
Yeah, I'm trying it out.
Well,
Trying it out.
telescoping would mean that
It's
you
for
look through a telescope to see up into the air.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. You have to look through a telescope to see how high our listeners have gotten in the last 7 days or 9 days.
How
And
high that we have a high audience.
yeah, our audience is high. That's what I said.
That's it.
Um,
That's the tweet.
that's the tweet. I did a thing,
God
some
brave.
personal
God
news.
brave did a
Got
thing.
brave, did a thing, some personal news. Uh,
Okay, look, let's just cut to the chase here. We have a long episode tonight. We had a long one last week. In last week's episode, you and I talked a bit about our five-star reviews on Apple because they
yes,
make us feel good. There's also a one-star review. I don't want to pretend
that
as
was the
if
first
that.
one we ever got.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we've received a lot of hate, but there was a five-star review from someone out there neither of us know.
yeah,
And getting that review was the happiest moment for I think for both of I mean you the birth of your child is probably above it, but like for me, that five-star review just absolutely blew me away that there was somebody out there who doesn't know us who thought that our voice of Jeff chapters were Emmy worthy. So we decided to talk about him on the air, and then we woke up a few days later and the review was gone.
yeah. That's the story. But then, Billy found out on Sunday that he had never left. He had just edited his review to add some a response to some of the commentary we offered about his criticisms of us.
He didn't
And so
criticize us. He didn't
he had
criticize. This is
never
where we got in trouble last time. He didn't
okay
criticize us.
blindsided or blind yeah. Well, anyway, it's an Achilles heel for us and for him, which is a reference to the MacDonald's psychological profile
But
about his
he
masculinity.
came
No,
back. The review was
yeah,
never gone. He came back. He added to it, and the what he added was welcome. It was very funny. He doubled down on his praise for us, and we just want you to know that we love you, man.
yeah, there's no question,
Yeah.
and it is. I mean, most people, just walk around day to day in life, and they would never know that I have a podcast that has attracted a total stranger to listen to and enjoy it.
But now this is
Um,
not a bit because when I saw that he came back to respond directly to things we were saying on the air. I thought, and we talked about it, there needs to be some way for people to engage with us in that quick responsive way that doesn't involve editing existing reviews
yeah,
upon
and
hearing us.
requiring Apple to approve it.
Well,
It slows
it's
down our communication.
it's just so scary when
Yeah,
I think it's gone and I think, oh no, James and I really blew it.
we
And
hurt him.
maybe we aren't good. So we have opened up an email This is true.
This
We
isn't fake.
we have an email now. It is fatalvisionpodcast@gmail.com. So we welcome your reviews. We want more of them uh, because your encouragement helps us. Your criticism helps us to the one star guy. It's just fuel. It's just fuel, really.
The hate. Yeah.
But if you want to engage with us, and we would love to engage with you. If you have anything about the case you want to share,
Yeah. We
any
can take it
feedback,
offline. We can take it offline.
take it offline via an online
Yeah, but no,
process.
we're not gonna have some person. You're not gonna have an audience. You'll be given the cloak of anonymity.
Yeah. So thank you to our five-star reviewer who
Yeah, thanks again.
who we thought left and then came back. And we're so glad you're still with us. We're so glad we didn't alienate you. I think you make perfectly fair points. And James and I started this podcast because all we ever want to do is talk about the case and talk about Fatal
Yeah.
Vision. And we were
And what
hoping that there were other people out there who were like, where's the Jeffrey MacDonald content?
yeah. And I think it's worth I mean, I wasn't saying I wish I could talk about it. I wish that there was a podcast for me to listen to where someone was just constantly talking about it, and we had no choice but to make it ourselves. It was out of pure need. It was just purely selfish reasons, and
Yeah.
apparently it's someone else. Other people have been living with that lack, and we've filled the lack. And been notified that there's been other, one or two episode drive-by podcasts from you know so-called true crime holistic podcasts that just look as true crime as a whole and just do little case by case episodic touches.
Hmm.
So I'm always just cracking up when I'm sitting here doing my standard McDonald Jeffrey McDonald Google search last 7 days, and I'll see something, like two guys and a true crime podcast, the McDonald episode.
And they pulled up the
And
Wikipedia page.
yeah, the Wikipedia scam, and he claimed this happened, Stokely, and blah 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 blah.
Some people
So
think this, and other people think
yeah,
this.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I think while we're on the subject of Googling McDonald, we did
Okay.
have kind of some late breaking news since we last were on the air. Um,
Hmm.
and late as in I didn't hear about it for more than a month. But Greg Kelly, at least to my knowledge, has done at least minimum one more episode. And Billy will always want me to give the background in case you haven't listened to every episode 10 times. But Greg Kelly is a
Which we think you
Newsmax
should. You
anchor.
should. You should
Yeah,
listen
you
to
should.
every episode 10
So yeah,
times.
Greg Kelly is an anchor on a network, a news network,
Yep.
um, called Newsmax, and he's a personal champion of the McDonald Innocence cause.
Yep.
And he put out a really crazy episode in February with McDonald's attorney Hart Miles, saying that that he should get pardoned or commuted, and that he's innocent. The whole thing. And then I discovered that he did another show with attorney Alan Dershowitz, who is a celebrity, um, the household name. And,
Yeah. I
and
know him. In this household, we know who
yeah,
Alan Dershowitz is.
he's a lot more famous than Hart Miles.
Yeah.
But his involvement with MacDonald personally, started and ended in the year 1990. But he was happy to come on and sort of do this really uh, insanely sort of ignorant riff on saying that he was only convicted because of the betrayal of Fatal Vision.
Is that really what he
And
said? I haven't.
yeah. You haven't seen the footage, but yeah, he says that. And
He got convicted because of the
yeah, the
betrayal of
only
Fatal.
reason he was convicted is because of the this betrayal of Fatal Vision.
Oh,
Um, so it just shows you that Alan hasn't been very faithful in studying up on the case facts and the intervening
yeah.
35
Greg Kelly
years.
probably just called him up and said he's
Yeah, I mean, I
gonna come
did.
on.
If you Google Alan Dershowitz Newsmax, he's on the network like 3 or 4 times a day on different shows from on
Mhm.
Zoom, just offering. He cannot resist turning. He can't turn anything down. And this was a McDonald thing, and yeah. Anyways, he said that he should be commuted. He's almost certainly innocent, but even if he's not, whatever happened to compassion in America?
Right.
Um,
Has Jeffrey
and
Toobin ever commented on the MacDonald case? I saw Tu I know Toobin was a student of Dershowitz and then
oh, I didn't even know. I didn't know that connection.
they're on different sides of I watched a really wild Piers Morgan clip from around the time O.J. Simpson died, where Dershowitz was screaming at Toobin for being so dishonest and claiming that Mark Furman couldn't have planted the glove.
Oh, well, yeah. So that's pretty wild. I remember you told me about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if we can. I don't know if Tubin's doing much commentary on McDonald. We should try to see if he
they
will.
should.
But
They could have him on.
yeah, if he he will certainly consider it if he wants to come on.
Fatalvisionpodcast at
At
gmail.com.
gmail.com. You can
Jeffrey.
certainly anybody who wants to try to join us as a guest is free to email us there, and your request will be considered. Um, anyway, so that was the thing. It was more of just like we're gonna get this in the right hands. We're gonna get it to the Attorney General, and we'll just get a rubber stamp pardon or commutation so he can die in peace. Um, and he used the Leopold and Loeb example. I guess one of them was let out of prison for compassion.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
And
what we,
one of them was murdered in prison like
yeah.
immediately.
Well, then he said the checks and balances exist for a reason and they work perfectly. And because when the judiciary has failed, which it has for McDonald, that's why the executive has the power to set him free. So
Okay.
that was the Dershowitz segment in a nutshell. So that was April 2nd. There still hasn't been a pardon or a commutation, so we're just keeping our eyes on that though, obviously. We're monitoring it very closely.
You should text that to Blackburn.
Yeah, maybe I should let Jim know that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bother Brian Murtaugh with this update. Exactly. It's like, does he really need to know that Dershowitz was on a cable news show for 6 minutes saying stupid bullshit?
Have you and Brian ever texted? Or is it all email?
No, I only emailed him.
Right, but you have his number.
I do have his phone number, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just
We'd
leave
be
it,
like the pod, we'd be like the pod pukes and call people up on air.
oh, as like a surprise. Like, yeah, by the way, you're on the air.
Yeah.
I just don't think that it was nothing of substance.
Yeah.
It was basically just redoing the same thing from February on a much shorter segment.
Yeah.
And Greg Kelly did cram in the whole thing about Ken Micah said who, obviously went on to testify against McDonald and
Yeah.
saw Helena Stokely down the street. He was able to jam that into a 6 minute segment to people that don't know the case. So it's just kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
it's aggravating.
Well, there's something there's something interesting about we've talked about this so many times over the years, not just with regard to the MacDonald case, but we live in this culture of like nonstop discourse, and a lot of it is very low effort, and people don't have a deep understanding of really anything they're opining on. And I don't most topics in the world, most topics there are to discuss, I don't know anything about. And I need to have humility about that. But people they like piece together little things like, oh yeah, Stokely was down the street with the hat. That's kind of weird. Like, oh, and anyway, then everything else they just don't. That's like the Errol Morris approach.
Uh, well, yeah, and then you're trying to educate or persuade your audience of cable viewers in a 6 minute segment who've never heard of the case, um, which is why I haven't been able to detect any sort of widespread audience response or interest in the case as a result of these segments. Um, and then it's just sort of, and as another example, we found that old delightful clip of CNN from 2012 where it was, I think it was only like a 2 minute segment about the MacDonald hearing, and they had they were trying, this was a balanced panel, so they had a pro MacDonald lawyer and an anti MacDonald lawyer just screaming at each other for like 30 seconds, and then they wrapped it up. And
Well, it all goes back to Vidal Buckley.
yeah, well then this was the guy who's screaming, like, there was like, well, they're saying the author of the book might testify, and the guy's like, it'll never happen. The judge will never let it happen.
James,
Um,
did your dad testify?
yeah, no, yeah,
Yep.
it was just
Mhm.
well, anyways, I guess we're just sort of commenting on what are the how hopeless it is, especially for this subject to be presented in that format, and
Yeah.
to not have the audience's eyes just glaze over immediately.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That I mean, that was part of what Jim Blackburn told us when we interviewed him all those months ago, that part of
yeah.
what's hard about this case is that it takes 10, 15 minutes to explain. But
Yeah, and we've actually struggled with that with very close friends and um when we first met them, trying to catch them up on all this stuff, and they thought that my dad had killed someone by the end of the story. And so it's not easy to do with just words
yeah, yeah,
in a very compressed period of time. Which is
yeah.
why the Fatal Vision podcast is the only natural outgrowth from anything to do with the case.
Yeah, yeah.
Endless,
What
endless.
we're doing makes perfect sense, but we don't need to engage in a feverish effort to justify ourselves.
I don't believe I've ever justified myself to anybody.
We're just here. We're just here.
Yeah, and a lot of people,
If the
yeah,
audience wasn't there, we would still be here.
that was the plan, was to never have an audience, and um, to to have such a deep and wide audience now is just beyond shocking. So the only thing we can do is not change anything we're doing, other than the fact that we got the $10,000 microphones, and
Still paying off my debt on that, but
yeah, well, I haven't even started. I'm in arrears on the first payment, so but they can't take it from us because it was purchased under the Fatal Vision Podcast LLC.
yep.
So, and that's out of an Oregon PO box. So good luck finding it. Anyway,
Yep.
anyway,
All right, we're up
anyway.
to anyway.
Well, anyway. So, this is a big fucking deal because we're on chapter 10 of part one,
Hmm.
and after this chapter, there is a voice of Jeff, which is awesome and very short, and then that's it. And I don't know, sort of the way we had structured is, I don't know, we'll take it offline, but the idea of breaking it into seasons by parts is, we could be saying we could potentially be coming to the end of season one here.
Yeah.
We're in the home stretch, and this is going to be an action-packed chapter. It's returning to the April 6th interrogation at CID headquarters in Fort Bragg, 1970. And Bill, for the first part, it's going to be mostly just back and forth with interrogators and MacDonald himself, and we haven't determined who's going to play MacDonald, who's going to play the interrogator. So, should we do some kind of a trick or a like a draw to see who does what?
Yeah, if you want to. I think
Yeah.
I was McDonald last time.
Okay, so maybe we should just do the possession arrow and I'll be MacDonald this time.
You want to be McDonald? Okay.
Just if we're just gonna go with you were him last time, I'll be him this time.
All right.
Um,
Um, I'm a little bit concerned that you haven't put in the prep to be McDonald.
oh well, I listened to this entire chapter on the audible excuse me, audiobook this morning,
Oh, that's
and
good.
that reader did a tremendous job of even like making McDonald sound like he was crying when he was crying.
Did you
Um,
work out with the boxing team this morning?
oh, you mean did I actually do
Like getting into the character? Yeah,
getting
I
into
because
the character? Oh, in terms of method acting,
I
method
was popping
acting.
escatrol all day.
That's right. I forgot all about this. Well, there's only one thing that I did today that you could say was prep, which was I watched Easy Rider. I made the mistake of watching that film today. And they have all these stop action things. And it's kind of like that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I that means if I'm the non-McDonald people, I'm also reading the McGinnis stuff.
Yeah, let's do that up until we get to that section break we talked about, I guess.
All right, there's a section break.
Um,
It might be where we cut for the night, but we're gonna see how we feel because it's already 11.
oh, and also, but no, if there's a part where it's like McDonald said or McDonald was crying, I'll read that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instead of simply having a cup of coffee in a corridor, Jeffrey McDonald had left CID headquarters for 90 minutes. When he returned at 1 p.m., the radio had been turned off. Franz Joseph Grebner began to speak. I have been sitting here most of the morning, Grebner said, not saying very much, just listening to your story. And I have been an investigator for a long time. And if you were a PFC, a young, uneducated person, I might try to bring you in here and bluff you. But you are a very well educated man, doctor, captain, and I'm going to be fair with you. Your story doesn't ring true. There's too many discrepancies. For instance, take a look at that picture over there. Grebner gestured toward a photograph of the living room of 544 Castle Drive. Do you see anything odd about that scene?
No.
It is the first thing I saw when I came to the house that morning. Notice the flower pot?
Standing up.
Yes. Notice the magazines?
Yeah.
Notice the edge of the table right there?
I don't understand the significance of it.
Okay. The lab technicians, myself, Mr. Ivory, and Mr. Shaw, and any number of other people have tipped that table over. It never lands like that. It is top heavy and it goes over all the way, even pushes the chair next to it out of the way. The magazines don't land under the leading edge of that table either. They land out on the floor.
Couldn't this table have been pushed around during the struggle?
It could have been, but it would have been upside down when it stopped. And the plant and the pot always go straight out and they stay together in all instances.
Well, what are you trying to say?
That this is a stage scene.
You mean that I staged the scene?
That's what I think.
You think I would have stand the pot up if I staged the scene?
Somebody stood it up like that.
Well, I don't see the reasoning behind that. You just told me I was college educated and very intelligent.
I believe you are.
Well, why do you think I would? I don't understand why you think I would stage it that way if I was going to stage it.
In your glasses, which are over there underneath the drapery. They could have gotten there, but you weren't wearing your glasses when you went into the bedrooms. And they are lying with the outer edge of the lens down on the floor, yet on the face of that lens, there's blood.
Maybe someone knocked them over.
But how did they get the blood on them?
I assume from the person who knocked them over.
Another feature here. There's an Esquire magazine laying there. There's a box laying on top of it, and on this edge, right underneath the box, there's blood on the edges of the pages. This whole thing here was staged.
That's a pretty powerful statement. Changes things around, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Well, I can't help you, MacDonald said. What do you want me to say? You were telling me that I staged the scene and that's it. It's a little ludicrous.
You must understand, Grebner said, that I am looking at this from the point of view of an investigator, past experience.
I understand that.
Grebner gestured toward another photograph. Notice the rug right there?
Right.
It slips and slides and rolls up very easily. In the position it is in, that's where you would have been having this struggle, pushing against three men.
Well, at the edge of the bed and on the end of the hallway, this was the third time MacDonald had said bed when he had apparently intended to say couch.
It's a nice Joe moment.
Yeah.
There we go.
For those keeping track at home, that was the third time.
The rug was undisturbed, Grebner said.
Well, what do you want me to say? I'm not an investigator. You were telling me that I staged the scene and I'm telling you that things happened the way I told you.
You know, Grebner continued, you as a doctor and I as an investigator have seen many people come into emergency rooms and they are pretty badly hurt.
Right.
I've seen people who were shot directly in the heart with a 38 run over 100 yards. You had one ice pick wound, apparently from an ice pick, punctured your lung to the point that it collapsed 20%. You had one small bump on your head.
No, correction, I had two.
Two? Okay, two. Not apparently wounds or bumps that would have been caused by this type of club that we have in this instance if anyone was swinging with any force.
Well, I can't agree with you there medically. I have treated patients who have died, and there's nothing but a little abrasion on their forehead.
That's probably true, but here you are. You've been hit twice by now. This didn't knock you out. This is according to your story. You're at a point here where the old adrenaline is pumping into your system. You are fighting for yourself and your children, and yet you pass out here, according to your story, at the end of the hallway.
It wasn't exactly passing out, Mr. Grebner. I was hit on the head a couple of times.
But that didn't knock you out. You were still pushing and fighting against these people, And
Well, apparently it did knock me out, though.
for an unexplained reason, you passed out
No, no, I didn't pass out. Apparently, I was knocked unconscious.
by a third blow.
I don't I don't know how many blows.
But this weapon was used on Colette and Kim. It is a brutal weapon. We had three people here that are overkilled almost, and yet they leave you alive. While you were laying there in the hallway, why not give you a good lick or two from behind the head with that club and finish you off?
Well, maybe I was
You saw them eye to eye. They don't know that you wouldn't be able to identify them at a later date. Why leave you there alive?
I don't know. Maybe they assumed that I was dead and the frenzy got worse and worse. I don't know. I've thought about this. I've spent many sleepless nights in the last 6 weeks, you know.
Then we have the fibers from your pajama top directly under your wife's body.
Sir, I told you I can't explain some of those fibers. That's beyond my capabilities. I just told you the only thing I know, and obviously the implication is real bad for me, but I can't. How can I explain that? I don't know.
And as we enter the bedroom, we have Kimberly's blood on that rug. To the right of the door, we have the top sheet and the spread from your bed, and on the sheet are both Colette's blood and Kimberly's. And on the bedspread, it's Colette's blood, large quantities. Now, hippies don't, they let bodies fall where they may.
Right. I agree with you.
So it is another stage scene, probably. Kimberly was returned to her bed. It's a possibility carried in that sheet. And there was absolutely no evidence that could be found, even though we had technicians in there for 5 days, of an alien being in that house. You get that many people in a house that small, you're going to have evidence of it.
I don't know what you expect me to say here.
That club, Grebner continued, you said you had never seen that before. Do you know there is paint on it that is the same as paint on the sidewalk and back of the house?
Look,
It is the same as the paint on scraps of wood which you have in your locked storage room. It is the same as the paint on a pair of surgical gloves that were in the locked storage room. That piece of wood came from the house.
it might have, MacDonald said. I haven't seen the piece of wood. I didn't recognize it from the picture. Jesus Christ. This is getting, what's this called? Circumstantial evidence? Yeah, well, go ahead, MacDonald said sarcastically. What else do you have?
I was just throwing out things for you to consider.
What you're doing is you are sitting there here telling me that I killed my wife and kids. That's that's unbelievable. Christ's sakes. What's my motive? What did I do that for?
We can conjecture a lot of reasons, perhaps.
You think I wasn't happily married?
I'm happily married too. Sometimes I get pretty mad at my wife, particularly when I was younger and more easily angered.
You think I could get mad enough at someone to do that?
I have known it to happen before.
Holy Christ! I'll tell you what it looks like to me. It looks like you've run out of ideas and you're picking out someone, the easiest one. You've got to solve it by the end of the fiscal year, so when the report goes in, there's a 100% solved rate.
No, Grabner said. I've been at this for 20 years and I'm going to stick one more. So I'm not in any hurry. It is just that we have all this business here that would tend to indicate that you are involved in this rather than people who came in from the outside and picked 544 Castle Drive and went up there and were lucky enough to find your door open. I've spent many a night out on this post, and I know one thing, with the number of dogs we have around, you don't go rattling doors here to find one that's open so you can come in and for no apparent reason knock off three people. In that hour of the morning, the patrols we have around, there wouldn't have been 4 or 5 people, a group like that, wandering through the housing area
Oh, that's a lot of baloney, McDonald interrupted.
or driving through.
I've never seen a patrol there at night, and I've been here since August.
Well, I can assure you they are there. You probably weren't looking for them. There was a pause.
Well, where do we go from here? MacDonald said.
It's up to you.
It's not up to me. I told you what I know. You put some pictures in front of me to tell me that they are staged and that I did it.
Let me tell you something, Shaw said. I don't want to step out of line here, and if I am, I'm sorry. I don't know that you did it, Captain MacDonald. I don't know it at all. But my experience tells me that what you say here isn't right.
You mean because it is an unusual, bizarre crime, MacDonald said.
No, no, by the physical evidence that is in the house and the lack of physical evidence, Ivory added. There was another longer pause. Jeffrey MacDonald whispered,
Then he said, Step one, you lose your family. Step two, you get blamed for it, huh? That's terrific. Great.
"You are the only one that was left alive there," Grebner
Oh,
said.
well. Sorry. Oh, well, MacDonald said, the sarcasm now heavy in his voice. That's pretty significant.
It sure is from the way the others were taken care of.
How was I supposed to have gotten my wounds?
You could get these wounds, the ones you had, the puncture. You could have done it yourself.
A couple of blows in the head, and a lot of little puncture wounds, and a little cut on the abdomen, and a couple of stab marks in the arm, and a puncture wound in the lung. That's reasonable. Or else I paid someone. That's another way. Well, I don't know what you men want me to say. I don't have much to lose, do I? I lost everything else. You men are making an awful lot out of this circumstantial evidence that can probably be explained. I can tell you that.
That's why I'm bringing it up, Grebner said, to see if you can explain.
I mean, I can't. I can't explain the scene. It just seems to me that in a struggle, anything would be possible. You know what I mean? There was a pause. Jesus Christ, MacDonald said. When did you people start thinking like this?
The scene in the living room, Grebner said. I questioned when it first came up. I thought it was very odd.
But it took, but it took, but it took, but it took your office 6 weeks to question me about these things. Oh, man, MacDonald said softly. Jesus Christ. This is a nightmare. This is like Edgar Allan Poe. There was a pause. He whispered, Wow. There was another pause. Apparently, he said, you don't know much about my family and myself. I'll tell you that to come up with that conclusion, or me for that matter, MacDonald said.
What kind of man are you, Captain? Shaw asked. You say we don't know much about you. What kind of man are you?
Well, I'm bright, aggressive, I work hard, and I had a terrific family, and I love my wife very much. And this is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my whole life. It's almost as bad as the next morning. Thinking about this is thinking it was a dream. Suddenly, he started to sob. Jesus Christ! You can ask any patient I've ever treated. I go way out of my way. I've spent my whole medical career. It isn't that long, but to date, I've never had a problem with a patient. Always gone out of my way, always worked extra hours, always helped people. I love my wife more than any couple I know. I've never known a couple that's as happy as our family. And you come up with this shit. God damn it. He paused and began to cry again. Almost a full minute passed before he spoke again. God damn it. How do you come up with that? We even had plans for a farm in Connecticut. There was Another long pause when MacDonald sobbed audibly. Then he said angrily, "Well, that's a load of bullshit, I'll tell you. God damn it."
Jeff, Grebner said, I have to go on what evidence is available to me.
Yeah, bullshit. Looking at some circumstantial things and making a mountain out of a molehill.
During an investigation, Grebner said, we have to look at the circumstantial evidence, the real evidence, and we try not to make mountains out of molehills.
MacDonald continued to sob. Then he said, "What? What? No one ever had a good as life as I had. What the hell would I try to wreck it for? Christ, I was a doctor. Jesus, I had a beautiful wife who loved me and two kids who were great. We were just over all the hard things. It just doesn't make any sense." He broke off again and continued to cry. Then, with his voice once again under control, and looking the CID chief directly in the eye for the first and only time all day, he said, "Look, Mr. Grebner, what I told you is what I remember from that night, and that's the truth. All I can say to you is that, maybe things weren't exactly as I said, simply because of the excitement, but I told you what I know. In other words, there are some minor details that maybe you're a little hazy and confused, but the gist of what happened is what I told you to the best of my abilities. And that's all I can say. I mean, I don't know anymore, and the rest of it is pure bullshit." There was another extended silence in the room, broken once more by Jeffrey MacDonald. What what possibly could I have gained from this? I mean, Jesus Christ. What would I have gained by doing this?
Slowly, Franz Joseph Grebner reached into his desk and took out an envelope containing additional photographs. He opened the envelope and handed MacDonald pictures of an army nurse named Tina Carlucci. Is that in your book too, James?
Yes.
There was another long pause. When MacDonald finally spoke, his voice was dull.
He looks familiar, but Tina, the nose looks familiar. She looks familiar, but I don't know who she is. Oh, I let me see that. Looks like a girl I knew in San Antonio. I was with her one night, did not have intercourse. No big deal. She wrote me one letter and I ripped it up and threw it away. That's her. There was a short pause. "You are more thorough than I thought," McDonald said, almost inaudibly.
What?
"You guys are more thorough than I thought."
Section break.
Section break. Woo! Fucking fire, man. That is one of my favorite scenes.
Why do you like it so much?
I just think I love the way I love McDonald being cornered and thinking he was walking in there with one thing and then just having him seeing the machinations of him trying to be like, "Oh, I know what I'll do now. I'll do a lot of crying and sobbing and weeping and wailing and anger, and then I'll try to have a real moment of clarity. Like, look, maybe the story I told you wasn't true because of all the excitement, but Mr. Grebner, like, I'm doing the best I can here."
Yeah.
And then just the big reveal that they have so much more on him than he could have ever imagined. And then his voice drops to dull from utter inconsolable grief to just dull once he realizes that they know about all of his, at least some of his affairs already.
It's an interesting section break
Yeah.
because it's not where the interview ended,
No.
but you guys are more thorough than I thought. the effect of placing that line there. It's the line of a villain
No, it's pure like
who's
the mask
who's been
comes
found
off.
out. Yeah. Oh shit, you guys actually know a lot.
It's like, I underestimated you. You're more thorough than I thought.
Yeah.
Um, and then he says it twice, like that. Like, what is the I mean, okay, but then like what you there's a whole genre of like what people, what would an innocent person do once they start being directly confronted by the people that are supposed to be solving the crime of your entire family. You'd be outraged, you'd be livid, you'd be screaming, and he's just like, huh, changes things around a bit, doesn't it? I mean, that's pretty villainous. Like, it's just like you're guilty, you're gonna try to play it cool and just like try to like talk your way out of it slowly. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's what comes to mind reading through it with you. It was a
I
privilege
like I like him looking at the picture of Tina and being like, "Huh, I don't know who that is. Wait, actually, yeah, I guess. Wait, yeah, I do.
the
One night.
whole
It was
yeah
only one night.
the whole act of like I don't oh, I know who that is. Yeah, whatever. No big deal.
One night. No
She
one
wrote
will."
me one letter. I ripped it up, threw it away.
Like that's
We did not have the way he says that we did not have intercourse is so capital C cringe.
yeah.
Like it sounds like a something someone who's like a you know keeps bodies in their basement would say about we did not commit the sex act. Um,
I thought the "This is like Edgar Allan Poe" was pretty
oh
painful.
yeah. Yeah, that feels like a canned line, like something if they could, like I'll start saying. I mean, know he repeats it to in letters to Freddie and Mildred later on. This is all like Edgar Allan Poe or Hitchcock.
Yeah, I gotta give him credit. He sticks to the talking points.
Oh yeah, you can't be shaken.
Well, in this interview, he's all over the place, but like over the years, the way he's told and retold the story, this guy throws a hell of a punch, for example.
Oh yeah,
Says it every time.
every time without fail. He just brings it back. And then I also heard her say acid and rain. It was raining that night. Um,
Right.
and I mean, he's put on the spot here, um, very aggressively, and he's caught off guard because he didn't know they had the blood evidence. He didn't know they had the pajamas. He certainly didn't know they had Tina Carlucci. Um, and he just sort of how would you describe his response? Does it seem credible? Does it seem like a truth-telling guy, or did he just kind of break?
Yeah, he seems very honest to me. Good question.
I mean, what's up with the sobbing? Is he trying to like just cry his way through it? Or I always have this sense when he starts saying it didn't make any sense, it doesn't make any sense. He's sort of like talking to himself.
Like
Like, why did I
that people might actually be onto me.
yeah, and then he's like, well, what would I wreck it for? Because I thought that might have been a break in character too, like sort of like um
Well, yeah. He probably wishes he didn't do it.
yeah, that's what I mean, he thought that he wasn't gonna go at this point I'm sure he'd convinced himself he was never gonna be in any trouble about it. And now all of a sudden he realizes he might not even get to be a doctor anymore and do all this cool stuff. And then he's really feeling the grief over what he's lost. He's not only lost he's committed that horrible crime, but he's also lost all of his potential, which is really grief. He feels that the door, that all that slamming shut.
Yeah, yeah, and
Um,
he's engaging in the self-justification we talked about last week. The I'm such a good guy. I'm always going out of
yeah,
my way to help. I'm
that
always
part really,
helping.
yeah, I hate that part.
Yeah.
Talk to my page. He's already, you can already see the defense being strategy from 9 years
I
later.
don't even really get it. Like you're you're a doctor. You've helped your patients.
Well, I guess he's saying like I'm not a s- I don't like murder my patients. I'm not mean to them. I'm not cruel to them.
So patients that he's helped will say he didn't kill me. He helped me.
Yeah. I think he's starting to come up with his theory, which he would later apply to Joe in Fatal Vision, is like you're not talking to the right people. You're like, talk to my people. Everyone knows I'm the kind of guy who wouldn't do this. And Joe didn't make any effort to talk to any of my best friends in California about how awesome I am. So not a fair book.
I mean, I think
Uh,
that point of view is represented in the book.
oh, there's plenty of McDonald's defenders in there. It goes on forever in the last sec home stretch. You get to
Yeah.
hear all about Gunderson and the adventures of Gunderson and Beasley and the friends of Jeff.
The opening chapter was all about how he's the most lovable, most loving, and most
The
deserving of love.
most worthy of love. Yeah.
Strongest and the gentlest.
Yeah, and then the entire part five will be told exclusively from McDonald's defense point of view. So you get, Bernie and Siegel's obviously a big fan, so you're going to hear a lot from him. So, anyways, yeah, the book is very balanced, and he gets to talk about himself all the time, as we've pointed out over and over again. Um,
Yeah.
well, what do we go? Where do we go from here? So, where do we go from here?
I think I think we finish this next week.
Yeah, seems like a good jumping off. It seems like such a natural jumping off point.
Yeah.
Um,
It's 11:40 in the east.
oh, you think he's in Cumberland right now? Unless the pardon came down in the last hour and hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah.
But as far as we know, McDonald is still in prison to right now as this is being recorded. And I don't know if you get Spotify in there or Apple Podcasts or YouTube. My understanding is you don't, so there's no chance of him hearing this, thank God.
Yep, no lawsuit.
No lawsuit. Whew, that's a relief. All right, so how do we wrap it up for our listeners this week? Just keep the faith.
Yeah, thanks for everything, guys.
Yeah,
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
don't give up. And we'll have more soon. And yeah, I don't have any kind of special outro. Didn't come prepared with that, so we'll just wrap it up there.
If you have any suggestions for like a tagline outro that we'll
Oh,
use moving
oh
forward,
yes, please,
email
please,
us at
and vision.
fatalvisionpodcast@gmail.com.
And also, we desperately need theme music. So if anybody hears, like good a whiz at the old Garage Band app, feel free to come up with some eerie, ominous, instrumentals that we can work into our production. But yeah, so that's your homework on your end.
Yeah, I
We'll
forgot to
do our
give
part.
credit where credit was due. The back to the reviewer, the East Goshen
Yes, sir.
Irish
Yeah.
reviewer.
Yeah.
When he came back to add to the comment, he talked about being on a boxing team in the 80s.
Yeah.
He's the best person ever.
Well, and I don't know if you haven't listened to the grand jury stuff as recently as I have, but he used the term Achilles heel, which is the psychological term that more Heidi gleaned from the psychologist that his Achilles heel would have been someone challenging his masculinity, which could have driven him into a psychopathic, violent reaction. So that was just such like a super deep cut from our East Goshen Irish friend, in there
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm glad.
Amazing. Just
Hope,
amazing.
yeah,
Amazing that people like that are out there. East Coast Irish, Matt Zoney.
yeah, yeah. Hey, I'm scheduled to meet him on a week from tomorrow.
Oh, where are you guys gonna go? I will. We can.
Starbucks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want anybody like swarming the place.
Yeah, yeah. We don't want to get swatted
Yeah.
by the MacDonald defenders calling the cops on us. So, yeah, we're not going to give the actual location, but and we're gonna in post production we're gonna take out that whole line because the risk is already too high of getting swatted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, McDonald, like the Gunderson crew, the
Yeah, the
disciples,
frothing at the mouth people, they're out there.
frothy emotional appeal.
Yeah, seldom suffices.
Didn't you used to go into chat rooms when you were a teenager and McDonald defenders would try to bait you?
Yeah, no, I was not even I was barely a teenager. I was 13, and this is one of the early iterations of the McDonald pro McDonald websites. And I think it was on in the 90s they had these things called guest books, and it was just like sitting on the McDonald website guest book, leaving comments and getting dragged. Um, and then I had people.
Well, what would you do? You would comment.
I was like, "Hi, I'm Joe McGinnis's son. Fatal Vision is true, and you guys shouldn't be so hard on it. Like, it's not, you can have your opinion, but you shouldn't be bad-mouthing McGinnis like this."
You were
And
defending your
then,
dad. You were a kid.
yeah, yeah, it's very natural. And then this guy, actually, no, I was approached by two different people from the McDonald team. That one was like an older woman that was trying to like she's like an older woman. I mean, I was 13. She was like said 34 or something, and she was like,
That's extremely old. That's
yeah,
extremely old. Yeah.
and older to me, and
This is old period. Yeah.
yeah, right, okay, I'm gonna edit that out. Um,
I'm just
anyway,
just
so
doing
she was
the bit.
extremely, it was extremely inappropriate, and getting me just acting like she was my friend. We don't have to talk about McDonald's at all. And I was like, okay, cool. And then like one day she just tried to confront me, like Grebner just did. And with all the evidence against Joe, it's like, what do you have to say about that? And then I just like signed off America Online in a panic. And then she kept sending me emails like, come back, come back, come back. We don't have to talk about your dad. Let's just play more trivia games. And that was the last I heard of her. Yeah. And then there's another guy. It was a man who wrote me a really vicious email, and I was like, the only way I can get these people to leave me alone is say that I'm a troll and I'm not actually his son. And I said that to him, and he said, I knew it. I knew it. I knew you were fucking faking it. And he's like, no, what person would ever want to be pretend to be the son of a drunken hack like that? So
Wow.
it was a brutal period of time, and
Yeah.
of course, kept the whole thing to myself.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So I hope some of those fuckwads are listening right now. Shoes on the other foot.
Yeah. Yeah, man. McDonald really brings out the best in people, huh?
Yeah, clearly his defenders were top-notch people. The 90s defenders.
Yeah.
This is all pre-Catherine before love came into his life again. So you can't blame him.
True. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, good night. This is all a joke. Good night.